Scissors back, we now have all our fabulous Empire biscuits baked. As you can see, Jessica's got twice as many as me because you made the smaller ones because you're making bite size. And Jessica's always also turned over in a different way to mine, so you've alternated how you're turning them over. So when you put them together, you have a bottom and a top. So I have turned over half of mine and they become the bottom because that's just how it is.
Yeah.
They just go together nicely. So in effect, you're having the two flat sides together.
Yeah.
The nicest thing to put in Empire biscuits is homemade jam.
Yeah.
It's got to be homemade jam. So we have a mixture here. We have our homemade wild berry jelly, which is wild brambles, rose hips and wild raspberries. And then we have our homemade raspberry jam as well. And I just make it easy for myself because I put it into a little piping bag. I don't put a nozzle in it, and I just cut a little bit out, and all I'm going to do is I'll just take a little bit. So Jessica wants to do half and half, so I will do 6. And you've got to put enough in. When Mr. M was watching and he was saying, "You're not going to use all that jam." There is nothing worse. There is nothing worse than an Empire biscuit that doesn't have enough jam in it. So, oops, I'll let you just get that. I know. And I will do the same with my homemade raspberry. So these are your first Empire biscuits.
They are. First of all.
Were you surprised at how easy they were to make them?
They were very easy.
Mm.
And quick to bake.
Yes, yeah, so they only take 10 minutes. And I have my other half. Well, obviously it takes longer when you've got smaller ones. But I'm taking my other half. So again, flat end against the flat end, and you're just putting them together nicely. Now some people ice their tops separately, but I don't like to do that because I'm so clumsy that I then spoil the icing. So I don't care if my icing runs over the edges, it just makes them look homemade. So I never asked you if you've piped before. Yeah.
That's something I've done before.
When Greg came and he was doing the...
He never piped?
He'd never piped before. But he did all right actually. Yeah.
Did he get to do fancy piping?
He did do... It wasn't unfancy, but it was just carrot cakes that we were doing.
Yeah.
So we didn't need to make them incredibly fancy. So that is my... I have 12 biscuits, all nicely together, and you got 24, didn't you?
I have 22.
Oh, 22.
Not
so,
quite.
So
not
nearly
perfect.
double. Yep. And you're just pushing them all together, and they do go together nicely if you put the flat ends together. We were just talking about times when we've been places and they've had the biscuits put together with the flat sides out, and it's just...
wrong.
It just doesn't seem right, does it?
It's not.
No.
Look, you managed to not break any.
I know. This is the first time since I can remember that I've made Empire biscuits that haven't been gluten-free. So obviously the gluten-free ones are a little bit harder than the gluten-free ones. So I was convinced I was going to snap them. These are looking magnificent.
Very tidy.
They're
matching up very nicely.
They are. And it's a nice biscuit because it doesn't grow in the oven. Whereas you make your ginger nuts and just spread out. You could do
use the same recipe
yes.
for doing shapes.
Yes. Yeah.
So it would actually stay how you cut it.
Yeah. So now we're going to put some icing. So the traditional icing is just some glacé icing. What we're going to do is we're going to put it into a piping bag again and just let it go over. So we have...
I put all of mine on. Just one for keeping that. So
And
half.
we have ice and sugar. Yeah, it's easier, and it doesn't matter then if it drizzles over,
No, I've got them all at the same height. don't I?
because does it matter if the icing drips down the side? Is somebody going to say, I don't want to eat this Empire biscuit because the icing's dripped over the side? I think not. I think not.
You never know.
So, just as a tip, I just fold that down so it doesn't, so that I don't knock it over.
You know
I
what's
have,
going to happen.
yeah, I have lost so many things sometimes from doing that, and then things sliding off. We were once having me and Jim having a bake off between ourselves on chocolate Yule logs.
Sounds like a good bake-off.
It wasn't until I was going out there to put mine in the freezer, and I dropped it. We still ate it. Wasn't one for the tea room, so. And this is just ice and sugar and cold water and a spatula.
Thank you.
And I add a little bit of lemon juice. And this is just because sometimes I use all the liquid as lemon juice. Sometimes I just add a little bit. But it, and I suppose that's maybe
What's that? Teaspoon? Tablespoon?
tablespoon. But it adds a nice taste to it. But it also helps the icing to set a little bit.
Oh.
So if I haven't got any lemon juice, I don't use any. Which shows that you don't really need it. So it's a preference rather than anything. And what you want is you want your icing to be not so that it's just going to be too thin. But you need to be able to, you don't want to have to physically spread it.
No.
But you don't want it like water. Which sometimes I get wrong. It doesn't matter.
Just add more ice and sugar then, and then you end up with tons of stuff. You know, I was once making a cake for the Macmillan coffee morning, and I was making ice syrup in a food processor once. When I had one, this was before it broke, and I forgot to put the lid on.
Oh.
I turned it on. I have never had to clean up such a mess, because obviously as soon as you add water to it, when you're wiping it up,
Yep.
you're making icing
Yes. Yep.
everywhere.
Yeah. I have made sometimes with the food mixer there, and forgetting to put the shield on when I'm doing icing. And icing sugar is just
clouds
everywhere.
Goes everywhere.
Yeah.
I think it's notorious. I took photos, but obviously took photos before I cleaned up. Look at the disaster.
I think the worst thing in the tea room was because obviously in the tea room we'd buy things in bigger bulk. So when Jim was making his, I made my icing a little bit runny.
What do you think?
Yours is better. I'm just going to get a little bit more icing to just pop back in mine. So amongst yourselves.
She's gone.
Quick on. Yeah. Now this just shows if you put too much water in, it's not a disaster. Just add a little bit more ice and sugar. Yeah, so Jim was making his lentil soup, and as he opened the ginormous bag of lentils, he dropped it. Yeah. So we were picking lentils up in the tea room. I think
Days?
weeks, months, years.
It's like sprinkles,
years.
isn't it?
In fact, I bet
sprinkles, or even if you're just cooking with kids and doing sprinkles,
yeah,
find them for months.
I think whoever's got the tea room now, which I don't think anybody has that
Still
that
finding
premises,
lentils.
they will still find lentils. Yeah, yeah. Yours looks kind of okay.
Do you want this stuff now? Not too.
You don't want it too runny, but nor do you want it too thick either.
I think mine's about the same. Let's do that.
Please. Just have a little jug. It's just easier to put the icing in. Don't use a jug. Stops you having to have 14 hands.
Yeah. Very true, thank you.
So what's your favourite cake then?
Favourite cake?
Oh, biscuit. Biscuit, because we're making biscuits.
Oh, favourite biscuit. This is a conversation I have quite a lot. Probably a chocolate because they're the ultimate for dunking. They don't fall apart on. Yeah. But it's we're quite a split house. Everybody is two very firm bourbon creams.
I like bourbon, and do you know what I found in the tea room? That bourbons were a little bit like Marmite, and people either loved them or hated them. One customer described bourbons, this was Evelyn, if she's watching, she described bourbons as being spawn of the devil. I was like,
oh no. Bourbons are like a weekly staple. No, that's all. You need a good bourbon. But then there's two of us that quite like a custard cream sometimes. But see, a homemade custard cream, that is worlds apart.
Yeah. And that's what I was making in the tea room. So I'd made all the family favourites. I'd made custard creams, bourbons, Jammy Dodgers, nice biscuits,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and actually, and digestive biscuits, and I'd actually got them so that they were all gluten and dairy free as well. So,
everyone can come and enjoy them.
Yeah.
We're making this look easy.
And fig rolls as well. I made. Yeah.
I can't get my family to eat a fig roll. That would be code. All sorts of things in our house.
One that I've not made is...
That's like a healthy biscuit, it's got fruit in it.
Do you remember the Garibaldis?
Yes!
Yeah,
I loved a Garibaldi.
I never made a Garibaldi yet.
No.
Yeah, so we have a debate. What would you put on your Empire biscuits? What would you put on yours?
Jelly tots.
Jelly tots.
What would you put on?
I would put a jelly tot on. Yeah.
Lots of people want a cherry though.
I'm only just getting so that I can eat a cherry.
Oh, but cherry scones.
Oh, actually, cherry scones.
Cherry
scones? Yeah. But
maybe that's because it tastes hot and cherry. So when you have a good fruit cake, you get the big juicy cherries inside it.
But cherries for me can actually spoil a Battenberg cake if they're on the top. But I am getting so that I can. So when I had my little heart attack finger.
A little heart attack, nothing major.
I know. And Jim said that I couldn't go to work for a while. I was like, okay. So I kind of got a little bit of cabin fever. And I thought, do you know what, I'm well enough now, I'm going to make some Empire biscuits. And I thought, I'm going to investigate Empire biscuits. And I'm going to see what should go on the top. And the more I investigated, the more I found. So what I came up with was, in Scotland, you will have the jelly tot, or what are these called? Mr. M, what are the jelly tots called? Jubs. I don't know. Jim, what are jelly tots called? Jubs. I've heard them called something anyway. Scotland, they like the jelly tots. Posh people.
Oh, posh people.
Posh people like a cherry. But in Ireland, they like coconut. So, you can do a mixture.
We can do anything.
So, what you need to do is make sure, and I'll just stand your legs back up again, is make sure that you're not doing so many that your icing sets before you're able to put your thing on. But I've done all sorts of, I mean, like at Christmas I might put a piece of fondant holly, or make it look like a spider icing, or anything. So it's really up to you. But for people that are watching, send in your comments of what would you put? What would be your favourite topping?
Nice. Edible flowers on.
Yes.
Is it pretty?
Oh yes, edible flowers. Yep.
Oh.
And it's just putting the ice on that, and if it's runny enough, it should just kind of work its way into a nice covering. You might need a little bit more icing than me, so if I've got some left, I might donate some.
You might.
I might donate some. That's I'm kind of using quite a lot. See, if you just get your icing just right, it just kind of just sits there.
These looked so tidy before I started icing.
Now, Jessica, is anybody going to say, I don't want
I can't
to
eat it, it's messy.
I don't want to
Oh,
eat that because the
no.
icing's run over the edge? I don't think
Is there
so.
not something about food that half of it's in the presentation?
That's it.
Oh, as long as the top's covered, right?
What's that?
Too little icing. So
Yeah, you don't want too little
that's
icing.
a whole lot worse, isn't it? It's a
Yeah.
whole other problem, really.
So I can actually calculate this. I have got 12 biscuits, so I want 4 of each.
Oh.
So that was very good for me
That was
because
good.
my maths is not the best. So you want to put your topping on before it sets. I'd forgotten. It's ages since I made Empire biscuits. Have you got? Do you need
I
some
know,
more?
I've got a whole stand. We're all good. Yep. I'll go for this half first and then I'll do that
Okay.
half.
Mm.
What we've got wild berry on here. Ooh, could have matched flavours.
So these cherries, I have actually just rinsed them to get the sticky juice off that they come in. Or they make a mess. So
That's nice in a fruitcake though.
it is.
You do want
Yeah.
the sticky juice in there. So this is my one. I'm going to put cherries on the wild berry side as well.
So there we go.
I should not do
And I am just going to sprinkle coconut. And if you were convinced that your biscuits wouldn't break, you could actually pick your biscuits up and dunk them into the coconut. But I'm not
feeling
convinced.
brave enough.
I'm not feeling brave enough for that. Not on
feeling
camera
that
anyway.
today.
No, not on camera.
I think decorating things is my favourite part.
It
It's
is.
probably where the illustrator comes in, isn't it?
And sometimes you can be making something and you look, actually, do you know what, they look quite dull. And then before you know it, you've put a little bit of decoration on and
Oh,
it just finishes it all off.
You can rescue that cake with a good bit of
Oh,
decoration.
you can. You can.
Disguise all sorts of things that have happened on it.
You can. The biggest thing I did that was a mistake. So although I kind of mastered baking gluten-free cakes, gluten-free baking is somewhat temperamental, and sometimes they just decide I'm not going to turn out. So for the tea room, for all you people in the tea room who are watching this, some people might remember, but they won't know where it came from. And I decided I was going to make a chocolate orange cake, right? And so I made the sponge, and it sank. But it sank in such a way that there was actually a hole in the bottom of it. And I was like, oh my goodness me.
A hole in the bottom,
Yeah.
the whole way through.
Yeah.
Somehow. Wow.
Yeah. So I was like, well, I can't waste this. What am I going to do with it? So I thought, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to make it into a giant Jaffa cake.
Genius idea.
So I made some orange jelly, and I set the jelly really hard and cut it out for the inside of the cake, and then I coated the whole lot in chocolate, and it was a giant Jaffa cake. And people thought I'd just decided to make a giant Jaffa cake, when actually it was a mistake. Yeah.
That's sometimes the best ways.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever made the chocolate Guinness cake I make without it sinking in the middle. but that just means you get to fill it
You've
with
got
more of
enough ice, you don't need any more ice.
more
Look,
Philadelphia.
These are looking
Half and
pretty
half.
splendid.
Dinky, aren't they? Raspberry and coconuts.
Yes.
It's a great combo, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, so that was my research, that Scotland like the jelly tots, posh people like the cherries, and in Ireland they like the
Yeah, like coconut.
coconut. So, but generally in the tea room I just put, it would either be cherries or jelly tots. I've got hiccups now. That's it.
Too much explaining
I
about
know.
biscuits.
I know, and we have actually, not that you'll see this on the film, but we have been spoilt. So while our biscuits are baked and were cooling, Mr. M has spoiled us, and he made us homemade soup, didn't he?
Yeah,
So we're
delicious.
full of soup.
Full of soup.
Look at those, Jessica. You're
Look
very
at the mess of
first.
your table.
That's okay. Messy tables can be cleared up. Yeah.
Very true.
And they are fabulous.
First ones.
So the only thing left to do is to clear up the mess once it's finished, and we will be back to sit and have a cup of tea or coffee with one of our homemade Empire biscuits. So